Reading through the Bible in 1 year, May 7th, Numbers 15, Ecclesiastes 11 through 12, John 18, 12 through 40, and 1 John 2:28 through 4:6. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel, and say to them, when you come into the land you are to inhabit, which I am giving you, and you offer to the Lord from the herd or from the flock a food offering or a burnt offering or a sacrifice, to fulfill a vow or as a freewill offering or at your appointed feasts, to make a pleasing aroma to the Lord, then he who brings his offering shall offer to the Lord a grain offering of 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour, mixed with 1/4 of a hin of oil, and you shall offer with the burnt offering or the sacrifice, or for the sacrifice, 1/4 of a hin of wine for the drink offering for each lamb. And for the drink offering you shall offer 1/3 of a hin of wine for a pleasing aroma to the Lord. And when you offer a bull as a burnt offering or a sacrifice to fulfill a vow or for a peace offering to the Lord, then one shall offer with the bull a grain offering of 3/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with 1/2 a hin of oil. And you shall offer for the drink offering 1/2 a hin of wine as a food offering, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. Thus it shall be done for every bull, or for each bull or ram, or for each lamb or young goat. As many as you offer, you shall do with each one, as many as there are. Every native Israelite shall do these things in this way, in offering a food offering with a pleasing aroma to the Lord. And if a stranger is sojourning with you, or anyone is living permanently among you, and he wishes to offer a food offering with a pleasing aroma to the Lord, he shall do as you do. For the assembly, there shall be one statute for you, and for the stranger who sojourns with you, a statute forever throughout your generations. You and the sojourner shall be alike before the Lord. One law and one rule shall be for you, and for the stranger who sojourns with you." The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel, and say to them, when you come to the land to which I bring you, and you are to eat of the bread of the land, you shall present a contribution to the Lord. Of the first of your dough you shall present a loaf as a contribution, like a contribution from the threshing floor, so shall you present it. Some of the first of your dough you shall give to the Lord as a contribution throughout your generations. But if you sin unintentionally, and do not observe all these commandments that the Lord has spoken to Moses, all that the Lord has commanded you by Moses, from the day that the Lord gave commandment and onward throughout your generations, then, if it was done unintentionally, without the knowledge of the congregation, all the congregation shall offer one bull from the herd for a burnt offering, a pleasing aroma to the Lord, with its grain offering and its drink offering, according to the rule, and one male goat for a sin offering. And the priest shall make atonement for all the congregation of the people of Israel, and they shall be forgiven, because it was a mistake, and they have brought their offering, a food offering to the Lord, and their sin offering before the Lord for their mistake. And all the congregation of the people of Israel shall be forgiven, and the stranger who sojourns among them, because the whole population was involved in the mistake. If one person sins unintentionally, he shall offer a female goat, a year old, for a sin offering, and the priest shall make atonement before the Lord for the person who makes a mistake, when he sins unintentionally, to make atonement for him, and he shall be forgiven. You shall have one law for him who does anything unintentionally, for him who is a native among the people of Israel, and for the stranger who sojourns among them. But the person who does anything with a high hand, whether he is native or sojourner, reviles the Lord, and that person shall be cut off from among his people, because he has despised the word of the Lord and has broken his commandment. That person shall be utterly cut off. His iniquity shall be on him. While the people of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man gathering sticks on the Sabbath day, Shabbat. And those who found him gathering sticks brought him to Moses and to Aaron and to all the congregation, and they put him in custody because it had not yet been made clear what should be done to him. And the Lord said to Moses, "This man shall be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones outside the camp. And all the congregation brought him outside the camp and stoned him to death with stones, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Now this seems a little crazy that they're stoning a guy to death for picking up sticks. But remember, just as in the New Testament, how we had, who is it? Ananias and Sapphira. I'm pretty sure it's them. I might be thinking of somebody else. The ones who made a vow to the Lord to, they were selling a plot of land that they had, and they said, oh yeah, we sold it for X amount of money. We're going to give all of this to it. But they said that they sold it for the same amount that they were giving. So they were lying. They were lying to the Holy Spirit. They were lying to the church, and God killed them. First the man, and then his wife came in later, and she attested to the same thing that her husband had said. So then she was killed as well. This is the same type of thing. They're establishing a new thing. And because it's being established, the rules are being set hard and fast to begin with. That's exactly what we're seeing here. So God is killing this one person for picking up sticks, something that doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. But remember, God commanded that on the Sabbath day, no one is to do any work. And this guy was doing work. He should have picked them up on other days. He should have had enough. And more than that, this was him not trusting God to make sure that he had enough sticks to take care of what he needed to do. Typically, these sticks were picked up for fires. So you could have, so you could cook, right, or other things. But all of their food and all of their other preparation would have already been taken care of. And also, this is him not trusting in God to keep them warm throughout the night. So that's why he was killed. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the people of Israel and tell them to make tassels on the corner of their garments throughout their generations, and to put a cord of blue on the tassel of each corner. And it shall be a tassel for you to look at, and remember all the commandments of the Lord, to do them, not to follow after your own heart and your own eyes, which you are inclined to whore after." So you shall remember and do all my commandments, and be holy, or separate, to your God. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord your God. Again, this is, after everything that he said, this is him declaring the how and why that he has the authority to say these things. All right, Ecclesiastes 11 through 12. King Solomon continues, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. Give a portion to 7 or even to 8, for you know not what disaster may happen on earth. If the clouds are full of rain, they empty themselves on the earth. And if a tree falls to the south or to the north, in the place where the tree falls, there it will lie. He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap," because you're paying attention to what's happening. So you know a good time to sow. If it's very windy, you don't want to sow on those days because your seed's just going to go everywhere, right? And you don't want to reap during the rain because your crops will be spoiled. "As you do not know the way that the Spirit comes to the bones in the womb of a child, to the womb of a woman with child, there we go, so you do not know the work of God who makes everything. In the morning, sow your seed, and at evening withhold not your hand, for you do not know which will prosper, this or that, or whether both alike will be good. Light is sweet, and it is pleasant for the eyes to see the sun. So if a person lives many years, let him rejoice in them all. But let him remember that the days of darkness will be many. All that comes is vanity. Rejoice, O young man, in your youth, and let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth. Walk in the ways of your heart and in the sight of your eyes. But know that for all these things God will bring you into judgment. Remove vexation from your heart and put away pain from your body. For youth and the dawn of life are vanity. Remember also your Creator in the days of your youth, before the evil days come and years draw near of which you say, I have no pleasure in them. Before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars are darkened and the clouds return after the rain, and the day when the keepers of the house tremble, and the strong men are bent, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those who look through windows are dimmed. And those who look through the windows are dimmed, and the doors on the street are shut. When the sound of the grinding is low, and one rises up at the sound of a bird, and all the daughters of song are brought low. They are afraid of what is high, and terrors are in the way. The almond tree blossoms, the grasshopper drags itself along, and desire falls because man is going to his eternal home, and the mourners go about the streets. Before the silver cord is snapped, or the golden bowl is broken, or the pitcher is shattered at the fountain, or the wheel is broken at the cistern, and the dust returns to the earth as it was. And he's speaking about our bodies, right? And the spirit returns to God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. All is vanity. Besides being wise, the preacher also taught the people knowledge, weighing and studying and arranging many proverbs with great care. The preacher sought to find works of delight, and uprightly he wrote words of truth. The words of the wise are like goads. A goad is a sharp stick that you would poke animals with so it would go somewhere. And like nails firmly fixed are the collected sayings. They are given by one shepherd. My son, beware of anything beyond these. Of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. The end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God, and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment, with every secret thing, whether good or evil. Now John 18:12-40. This is just after Jesus has been arrested. So the band of soldiers and their captain and the officers of the Jews arrested Jesus and bound him. First, they led him to Annas, for he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, who was high priest that year. It was Caiaphas who had advised the Jews that it would be expedient that one man should die for the people. Simon Peter followed Jesus, and so did another disciple. Anytime you see something like that, that's John talking about himself. He doesn't like to refer to himself by name here. Since that disciple, John, was known to the high priest, he entered with Jesus into the courtyard of the high priest. But Peter stood outside the door. So the other disciple, who was known to the high priest, went out and spoke to the servant girl who kept watch at the door and brought Peter in. The servant girl at the door said to Peter, "You also are not one of this man's disciples, are you?" He said, "I am not." Now the servants and officers had made a charcoal fire because it was cold, and they were standing and warming themselves. Peter also was with them, standing and warming himself. The high priest then questioned Jesus about his disciples and his teaching. Jesus answered him, "I have spoken openly to the world. I have always taught in synagogues and in the temple, where all Jews come together. I have said nothing in secret. Why do you ask me? Ask those who have heard me what I said to them. They know what I said." When he had said these things, one of the officers standing by struck Jesus with his hand, saying, "Is that how you answer the high priest?" Jesus answered him, "If what I said is wrong, bear witness about the wrong. But if what I said is right, why do you strike me?" Annas then sent him bound to Caiaphas, the high priest. Now Simon Peter was standing and warming himself. So they said to him, "You also are not one of his disciples, are you?" He denied it and said, "I am not." One of the servants of the high priest, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, asked, "Did I not see you in the garden with him?" Peter again denied it, and at once a rooster crowed. Then they led Jesus from the house of Caiaphas to the governor's headquarters. It was early morning. They themselves did not enter the governor's headquarters, so that they would not be defiled, but could eat the Passover. So Pilate went outside to them and said, "What accusation do you bring against this man?" They answered him, "If this man were not doing evil, we would not have delivered him over to you." So Pilate said to them, "Take him yourselves and judge him by your own law." The Jews said, "It is not lawful for us to put anyone to death." This was to fulfill the word that Jesus had spoken, to show by what kind of death he was going to die. So Pilate entered his headquarters again and called Jesus and said to him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you say this of your own accord? Or did others say it to you about me?" Pilate answered, "Am I a Jew? Your own nation and the chief priests have delivered you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. But my kingdom is not from the world." Then Pilate said to him, "So you are a king?" Jesus answered, You say that I am a king. For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." Pilate said to him, "What is truth?" After he had said this, he went back outside to the Jews and told them, "I find no guilt in him. But do you have a custom that I should release for you one man for you at the Passover? Do you want for me to release to you the king of the Jews?" They cried out again, "Not this man, but Barabbas." Now Barabbas was a robber. And now 1 John 2:28 through 4:6. John continues, "And now, little children, abide in him." Remember, abide means to live and remain, continually remain. "So that when he appears, we may have confidence and not shrink from him at shame at his coming. If you know that he is righteous, you may be sure that everyone who practices righteousness has been born of him. See what kind of love the Father has given to us, that we should be called children of God, and so we are. The reason why the world does not know us is that it did not know him." Remember, this is just what Jesus was talking about. "Beloved, we are God's children now, and what we will be has not yet appeared. But we know that when he appears, we will be like him, because we shall see him as he is, and everyone who thus hopes in him purifies himself as he is pure. Everyone who makes a practice of sinning," or abides in sin is another way to put this, continually lives in sin, "also practices lawlessness." Sin is lawlessness. "You know that he appeared in order to take away sins, and in him there is no sin. No one who abides in him, who continues and remains in Jesus, keeps on sinning. No one who keeps on sinning has either seen him or known him. Little children, let no one deceive you. Whoever practices righteousness is righteous, as he is righteous, as Jesus is righteous. Whoever makes a practice of sinning is of the devil, for the devil has been sinning from the beginning. The reason that the Son of God appeared was to destroy the works of the devil. No one born of God," so no Christian, no converted Christian, "makes a practice of sinning." They don't do it as part of the normal daily activity. They don't plan to sin. They aren't a good view on this for what it is to, like if you weren't a Christian, is that sin doesn't bother you, right? There are things that you do or things that you are doing that God calls sin, and you're like, "Yeah, but I don't really care. I want to do this thing anyway. I want to pursue this. It doesn't grieve you. It doesn't cause you pain when you do it." That's a sign that you are unconverted. So no one born of God makes a practice of sinning. That's what he's saying. For God's seed abides in him. Right? And what is that seed? That seed is the Holy Spirit working at us and working at our heart, making us realize our sin debt before God, making us realize the punishment Jesus had to endure for our sin, which leads us not to want to sin going forward. And because of that, he cannot keep on sinning, because he has been born of God. By this, it is evident who are the children of God and who are the children of the devil. Whoever does not practice righteousness is not of God, nor is the one who does not love his brother. For this is the message that you have heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. We should not be like Cain, who was of the evil one and murdered his brother. And why did he murder him? Because his own deeds were evil and his brothers were righteous. If you remember, he gave a gift to the Lord, but it wasn't his best. He had taken all that he had, and he chose only the things that he could, that weren't going to be a burden for him to get rid of in his gift to God. Whereas his brother gave the very best of that he had as an offering to God. And that's what happened. Do not be surprised, brothers, that the world hates you. We know that we have passed out of death into life because we love the brothers. Whoever does not love abides in death. Everyone who hates his brother, not just the brother you live with, but also Christians, is a murderer. And you know that no murderer has eternal life abiding in him. By this we know love, that he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brothers. But if anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart against him, how does God's love abide in him? Little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and in truth, which is what James was saying. By this we know that we are of the truth and reassure our heart before him. For when our heart condemns us, God is greater than our heart, and he knows everything. Beloved, if our heart does not condemn us, we have confidence before God. If your conscience is clear, is what he's saying. And whatever we ask, we receive from him, because we keep his commandments and do what pleases him. And this is his commandment, that we believe in the name, the character and nature of who Jesus said he was, of his Son, Jesus Christ, and love one another, just as he has commanded us. Whoever keeps his commandments abides in God, and God in him. And by this we know that he abides in us, by the Spirit whom he has given us. Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God. For many false prophets have gone out into the world. By this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is from God. And every spirit that does not confess Jesus is not from God. This is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you heard was coming and now is in the world already. Little children, you are from God and have overcome them. For he who is in you, Christ, is greater than he who is in the world, Satan. They are from the world, therefore they speak from the world, and the world listens to them. We are from God. Whoever knows God listens to us. Whoever is not from God does not listen to us. By this we know the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. Behold, the word of the Lord.